Hi everyone, it's the Dizzy Jules here. Thank you for coming to my channel. Today I wanted to show you all a few of my recent book purchases. And so if you've seen some of my previous videos, I really enjoy reading, and so every so often I'll go to a bookstore and I'll buy a few books, and I like to show you what I buy from the bookstores. So this is from my most recent purchases of books from I think I got a couple books from Half Price Books, maybe a couple from a comic book store, and then I got one book from the airport. I think it was at the airport that I was at recently. There was a Book People there, and so I was able to find a book that I've been wanting for a long time. And so the first book that I'm going to show you is The Alchemist. And so I got this from a bookstore, and at this bookstore they have all kinds of different, anime, or I want to say manga comics. They have a bunch of classic literature books that you can buy there, and they also have a lot of like cookbooks and stuff like that. And it's a really cool store. The only downside is that the books can be kind of pricey. Like, I paid $17 for this book, and it's kind of a thin paperback book, so it's kind of pricey, but I've been really wanting this book for a while, so I'm glad I found it. Okay, so I'll read the center, or this little flap here, and it says, Paulo Coelho's, sorry if I mispronounced that, but it's basically the author. Paulo's enchanting novel has inspired a devoted following around the world. This story, dazzling in its powerful simplicity and soul-stirring wisdom, is about an Andalusian shepherd boy named Santiago, who travels from his homeland in Spain to the Egyptian desert in search of a treasure buried near the pyramids. Along the way, he meets a gypsy woman, a man who calls himself king, and an alchemist, all of whom point Santiago in the direction of his quest. No one knows what the treasure is, or if Santiago will be able to surmount the obstacles in his path, but what starts out as a journey to find worldly goods turns into a discovery of the treasure found within. Lush, evocative, and deeply humane, the story of Santiago is an eternal testament to the transforming power of our dreams and the importance of listening to our hearts. And I really like that name, Santiago. It has such a nice, a nice tone to it, Santiago. And I really like the back of this book. It's a moon, very pretty. The blue is very pretty too. I'm actually thinking of getting a moon tattoo soon, so I just have like a fascination with the moon, and I thought it'd be cool to get a tattoo of the moon on my body. And so I haven't read this, but I've heard some good things about it, and I've also heard some bad things about it. So some people seem to love this book, or they seem to hate it. And I haven't read it, so I can't say either way whether it's good or bad. But I am looking forward to reading it. It's only, let's see how many pages it is. So it's about 170 pages, so it's not too long. It shouldn't take me too long to get through the book. One thing that's cool about this particular book is the pages are kind of thick, and they look like worn out, even though it's like brand new. That's just the design of the book. It's kind of like rustic. And so I'm looking forward to reading it. Okay, so this is the book I bought at Book People, and I've been wanting this book for a while. They just never have it at Half Price Books, and so I found this and I was so excited. It's Don Quixote, and so I saw the film Don Quixote in my Spanish class in 9th grade, and ever since then I've just kind of always loved the tale of Don Quixote. And so this is a really cool book. It looks like it's leather bound. I really love this color and the texture. And it was actually surprisingly cheap. I think I only paid like $8 or $9 for this, which was a great deal. And this was, the author is Miguel de Cervantes. And you can see this is a little windmill. The windmill is a kind of important part of the story. And you can see the inside, it's really pretty. There's a lot of windmills too. So this is kind of, I guess it's known as an epic. And you can, it's 825 pages. It's going to take me a while to get through. Oh, 826. So yes, it's a very long book. Okay, let's see if there's a summary somewhere here that I can read. I'm not sure if there is in this book. It doesn't look like there is a synopsis, which is kind of surprising. Most books come with it. But I will say that it's basically an epic story of a man on a quest. And I'll read what it says here in the back. It says, "It is easier for the prodigal than the miser to become generous, so it is easier for a rash man to prove truly valiant than for a coward to rise to true valor. And believe me, in attempting adventures, it is better to lose by a card too many than by a card too few. For to hear it said, such a knight is rash and daring, sounds better than such a knight is timid and cowardly." Okay, so this is considered classic literature, and if you've never heard of this book, I recommend it. And if you love epic fantasy novels, I guess it's not really fantasy, but it's basically an epic adventure novel. So if you like those types of novels, I recommend this one. I just don't know how I'm going to get through it. I don't know when I'm going to have the time to read it. It's so long, but a good thing is you can see the print is so tiny. So not only is it over 800 pages, but it's so small. I really like the color of the pages. They're not like white, they're a little bit yellow. So it's a little bit easier on the eyes. And can't wait to read this. I was so happy when I found it at Book People. Okay, so these next two books, one of them is a book and the other is more like a graphic novel or a comic. And so I bought these at a comic book store. This was $7.99, and it's by Neil Gaiman. Smoke and Mirrors, Short Fictions and Illusions. Okay, so in this book, it's actually a collection of short stories by Neil Gaiman. reading the back of the book here. It says, an elderly widow finds the Holy Grail beneath an old fur coat in a secondhand store. A stray cat fights and refights a nightly battle to protect his adoptive family from an unimaginable evil. A young couple receives a wedding gift that will reveal a chilling alternate history of their marriage. Beneath a bridge by the railroad tracks, a frightened little boy bargains for his life with a most persistent troll. Such miraculous inventions and more await within Neil Gaiman's first collection of short fiction. In his capable hands, magic is no mere illusion, but a powerful means to reveal the nature of our humanity obscured in the smoke of our fears and anxieties, and reflected in the funhouse mirrors of our dreams. And there's a quote here from the Dallas Morning News that reads, readers will find echoes of H.P. Lovecraft, Harlan Ellison, Ray Bradbury, and Stephen King, but the voice is all Gaiman. Highly imaginative. #1 New York Times best-selling author. And I think this is really cool. It's about 350 pages long. It has quite a few stories in here. You can see there's like the table of contents just lists all the stories, and there's quite a few. So I really like reading short stories. I remember in my English literature class in college, they used to make us read basically a bunch of different short stories by American authors, and then we would have to write, short essays about what we thought the theme of the stories was. And so even though English wasn't my best class, I still really enjoyed reading the not novels, but short stories that we had to read as an assignment. And ever since then, I've kind of liked to collect these types of books where it's a collection of short stories. Even though I mostly have full-length novels, I still find these short stories fun, and they're always an easy read. You don't have to dedicate too much time to them. And so I was really glad that I found this book. The price was really reasonable too, so that's always good. And continuing with that author, Neil Gaiman, this is another one of his works, and it's The Books of Magic, 30th Anniversary Edition. And so this is a really cool comic. I really like the texture of this. It feels very smooth. And this was $19.99. So the artwork is really nice. It's very soft. I'll show you a quick glimpse inside. Okay, so yeah, you can see it's very soft artwork here, and it almost feels like the pages are made out of newspaper or something like that. They're kind of heavy, kind of weighted paper. Okay. So what is this about? It says back here, it says, Timothy Hunter is like any other 13-year-old boy, aimlessly filling his days with television and skateboarding. But Timothy Hunter is also unlike nearly everyone else on Earth, and he's about to learn the reason why. In a word, magic. Tim doesn't believe in magic, of course, but it turns out that magic certainly believes in him, at least enough that some of its practitioners are already actively planning his untimely death. Luckily for Tim, he also has allies in the supernatural realms. 4 of the world's most accomplished and mysterious magicians have sworn to protect and enlighten the boy, and each of them has prepared a journey to demonstrate the hazards and rewards of the magical life. More important, they will also show him the price. And so, a quote by Stephen King says, Neil Gaiman is, simply put, a treasure house of story, and we are lucky to have him in any medium. And let's see how many pages this is. It's about 200 pages, so it's pretty thick. I don't remember what page I'm on. I know I haven't finished it. I must be like on page 60 or so. I thought I had a bookmark in here, but I guess I removed it. I'm really enjoying it so far, so it's really interesting, very entertaining. The artwork is very nice. It's very, I want to say there's not too much color. It's more like a darker themes, or I should say darker colored scheme. Especially in the beginning of the book where everything seems kind of gray and dark. It seems as the book progresses though, you get more color. Okay, so there's a short biography here about one of the authors of this, and I'll just read it really quick. Sorry, I'm not really sure how to pronounce his last name. I guess I've heard it pronounced either Gaiman or Gaiman. I'm not really sure the correct pronunciation. I kind of alternate between the two. But it says here, Neil Gaiman lives mostly in America with 2 cats, 2 large white dogs, and a number of awards from all over the world. He still does not understand how he came to be responsible for the feeding and domestic arrangements of these animals, nor, for that matter, what he is doing living in America. He has 7 beehives and many bees. He has written novels and comics and movies and TV and poems and an opera, and he keeps a Twitter feed, which is nothing like keeping bees at all. He is married to punk cabaret chanteuse, I'm not sure how to say that word, Amanda Palmer, and has played himself in animated television cartoons. So basically, he's a well-rounded artist. And so if you haven't checked out his works, I definitely recommend them. They're all very entertaining, and he's a great author. Okay, so the last I have to show you is one of my most recent purchases from Half Price Books. So you can see the price was $7.49, which I think is a great deal. And it's a collection of C.S. Lewis's works. So we have here, it's quite a thick book. Let's see how many pages it is, because that's always important. Okay, it's about 500 or so pages. Okay, so if I read the fold inside of the book, it says, The Beloved Works of C.S. Lewis, 4 best-selling works complete in 1 volume, including Surprised by Joy, Reflections on the Psalms, The 4 Loves, and The Business of Heaven. C.S. Lewis, one of the world's most celebrated authors, writes candidly, clearly, and from the heart about the deepest human concerns of faith, joy, and love in this outstanding collection of his 4 of his best beloved works. Lewis's autobiographical conversion story Surprised by Joy tells the true tale of a modern man who loses his faith and eventually reasons his way back to an acceptance of Christianity. Not choosing God as a last alternative or as a way out of an emotional crisis, his thoughtful path to the ultimate answer serves as an honest and inspiring story for his readers. In Reflections on the Psalms, C.S. Lewis brings wisdom, sophistication, and reverence to his discussion of this popular book of the Bible. Exploring the relevance of the Psalms to contemporary life, he next turns to a description of the many faces of love in the four loves. There are four basic kinds of human love: affection, friendship, erotic love, and the love of God, and each has certain possibilities and problems. Yet Lewis recommends the risks that accompany the rewards, since hell is the only place outside of heaven where we can be safe from the dangers of love. Finally, meditations appropriate. Let me try to read that again. Sorry. I'm trying to rush through this for some reason, and all the words are getting kind of jumbled up. Okay, so the last paragraph here says, finally, meditations appropriate for every day of the Christian year are found in the business of heaven. Taken from a wide range of Lewis's writings, they are designed to make the cycle of the church year a timeless and refreshingly new spiritual experience. As Lewis once wrote, joy is a serious business of heaven, and that spiritual joy, faith, and love are celebrated in the writings contained in this special collection. And I'm really excited to read this. I've heard good things about C.S. Lewis and his writings about Christianity, so I was happy when I found this in Half Price Books. And my favorite novel from C.S. Lewis is actually one of my all-time favorite books and movies, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I absolutely love that book. I read it when I was a kid, and the movie is so good. It's one of my favorite movies. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. I usually watch it around Christmas time, and that's a few months from now, so I'm looking forward to watching it again when Christmas comes around. And I'll just read the back here very quickly, because it looks like some good stuff. Let's see. It's a quote from The Four Loves. There is no safe investment. To love at all is to be vulnerable. Love anything and your heart will certainly be wrung and possibly be broken. If you want to make sure of keeping it intact, you must give your heart to no one, not even an animal. Wrap it carefully around with hobbies and little luxuries. Avoid all entanglements. Lock it up safe in the casket or coffin of your selfishness. But in that casket, safe, dark, motionless, airless, it will change. It will not be broken. It will become unbreakable, impenetrable, irredeemable. The alternative to tragedy, or at least to the risk of tragedy, is damnation. The only place outside heaven where you can be perfectly safe from all the dangers and perturbations of love is hell. I believe that the most lawless and inordinate loves are less contrary to God's will than his self-invited and self-protective lovelessness. We shall draw nearer to God not by trying to avoid the sufferings inherent in all loves, but by accepting them and offering them to him. Throwing away all defensive armor, if our hearts need to be broken, and if he chooses this as a way in which they should break, so be it. That was deep. So, wow. That was I want to say that was very thought-provoking. I know it's just 2 paragraphs, but this is something that a lot of people struggle with, including myself, is being vulnerable. And so it's so hard, especially these days, to kind of put yourself out there and just to love things wholeheartedly and unashamedly. I know for me, I always struggle with, I want to say, being open and spreading love and joy. A lot of the times I just kind of want to be reserved and be, sitting in the corner, keeping to myself, not interacting with other people. So this is kind of relatable to me, as knowing that when you love something so much, you're putting yourself at risk for being let down, for having your heart broken. But it's always important to just put yourself out there regardless, and to make your mark in the world, and to love as fully as you can, because that's basically what we have in this world, is love. And we choose to love things, we choose to love people. It's a beautiful thing, but it can also be very difficult and very ugly. But I'm just rambling here. I just was kind of amazed at this because I kind of relate to it. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to what he said in these 2 paragraphs, and that's why C.S. Lewis is a great author, because he says a lot of things that are deep and important and philosophical. And if you haven't read any of his works, do that. It might change your mindset. It might change how you think about the world. So recommend him. He has a lot of works, not just the ones included in this book. So check them out when you have a chance. And so that's all I have to show you for today. This is the Dizzy Jules. I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I hope you come back to my channel. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time.